Hi, it's Regan and Pop-Pop's movie review time. We recently saw the memorial of Ruth Marie Cornish. Short, not short enough, independent type movie. It was, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 1. I'll tell you why. There was no character development whatsoever. I mean, all the characters there seemed disinterested and were just going through the motions. I mean, it could be, that part could be true. It most likely is true, just to go through the motions of memorial service so they can say they give their mother a memorial service. The main characters, another part of the movie, the main characters, her son, who she lived with for 15 years, was not portrayed there, which is true. The real life story, he was not there. 15 years she lived with him and his family, and she decided after 15 years, it's almost like a Nicholas Sparks love story. She decided to move back in with her husband during her golden years, and unfortunately broke her hip a couple times and was sent to a nursing home afterwards. And they took care of her until she passed away. And her son she lived with, the one accurately portrayed as not being at the memorial service, her favorite son, I should ask. He visited her at the nursing home every other day, every day, and she appreciated that. And of course, she did grow into a cantankerous, argumentative woman during her later years, especially living with her favorite son. And she would fight with the whole family, and especially him. But there was no doubt the love between them. And she even had quite a few fights with the nursing home staff. They had to move her quite a few times. And it was kind of humorous to think back on it, how she became an argumentative older woman. The nurses enjoyed her. And she was tough to deal with at times, yes. There's no doubt many loved her, as her favorite son did. But he was not there as is portrayed, so that'll give the movie, the only point I'm giving the movie was that true part of it. And her husband, the main character, should have been. It is true that, according to the true life story, he was not even told of when the memorial service was going to happen. He was not invited, and he knew nothing about it. So him not being there was accurate as well. That's the only reason I'm giving it a 1 out of 10. I mean, those small accurate points. Of course, it's a cemetery scene. That's the whole little short point of the movie. And they added the rain to make it look like a somber, sad moment amongst them all. But there was no sadness in their faces, really. The actors were terrible. The only actor I thought was the best, I doubt he was an actor. He seemed very real. The pastor, he seemed very sincere, and I have no doubt he probably was a real pastor. He gave a great, he officiated the ceremony, gave a great ceremony, the singing. He did not evidently know the true story, didn't read the book, if you want to put it that way, and they were certainly not going to tell him that her own husband was banned from the service, or her favorite son. What did they do? Did they lie to the pastor about why the husband wasn't there? He was too sickly. They had a falling out. I'm sure the pastor would have reached out to her husband to find out, if he can make any sort of any reconciliation between us all. So, like I said, the characters all seem shallow. They didn't go into the backstory of the characters. One of the main characters, actually took his vehicle, stole it if you want to say, and sold it in the real story, the real life. And the others all condoned it. They didn't tell her no, that it was the wrong thing to do. I mean, then I could have mentioned that during this short little memorial service, but they shouldn't have betrayed all the actors there as innocent. We love our mother no matter what. People. Half of them were very disinterested in my mother when she was alive. They went through the motions of visiting once in a great while. The one who stole the car hardly visited her at all. The oldest female would fly into Philadelphia and sometimes drive right past where she was at the nursing home. So, but of course they know it all. I mean, they're all far away and yet they know it all. That wasn't portrayed either. So it's hard to compress a lifetime of realism into a 7-minute independent little movie. So once again, I think it was poorly done. They didn't even zoom in, or you couldn't hear any specific words from anybody except the pastor. For all I know, they could all be reading recipes or what have you, or just standing around waiting for this thing to be over with. So I thought it was poorly edited, poorly directed. It made no sense whatsoever. It followed the true story to a limit, but it didn't. By omitting certain points, it really took away from the whole movie. So I give it a 1 out of 10. What do you think, Pop?
Well, I consider it a complete farce. I don't know what they were trying to
Strong words.
Do, or what they were trying to do, the message they were trying to give out. To me, it was a very misguided, mixed up, a bunch of people uttering words, most of which had no meaning at all.
And that's from an actor. He knows what he's talking about, folks.
It was a complete, it's a waste of time to even consider it.
What was that word you used, sham?
Farce.
Farce, that's even, oh my lord. Wow.
F-A-R-C-E, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
Farce. Totally unreal group of people. I don't know what. My concern is, what were they trying to accomplish? I have no idea.
Well, I think they try to portray the real life characters. I think they try to put this out there to assuage their guilt of not being better children to their mother and also their father. I think it just soothed their soul. They went through the motions. I think they did it also with the purpose of denying the husband and the favorite son the ability to be there.
I think it was because most of this was put out because of a guilty conscience on the part of some of these people.
Yes, indeed. I think a farce best describes it, even better than a sham. Maybe a farcical farce. So, what rating do you give it?
I give it no rating at all. I won't give it. I'm not going to give it the dignity of even considering it.
I gave it a 1 because of the accuracy of the son and father not being there.
I give it a 1 minus.
Ooh, that makes it a 0.
Well, that's where it belongs. 0.
Okay, well, that's strong words from an accomplished actor who's been in a few movies, and he knows the business.
Yes.
So,
I still don't know what they were trying to accomplish or do. I have no concept of it. To me, it was a mishmash of words.
Yes, indeed. I think it was just it was just a bunch of strangers together,
right,
and burying a box.
Right.